You better work. You better work. Have a girl. Work it, girl. Give a twirl. Do your thing on the runway. Work. You better work it, girl. Of the world. Wet your lips and make love to the camera. Work. Turn to the left. Work. Now turn to the right. Work. Sashay. Shantae. Work. Turn to the left. Work. Now turn to the right. Work. Sashay. Shantae.
Hi there, this is Greg Campbell, or Bridget Diamond Halston. I am a drag queen, and I did my report on the history of drag. It's been a long, bumpy road for us. It started off well, and has kind of become sort of a taboo. But anyways, today I'm just going to talk a little bit about, in this video, the history of drag and drag queens, and where it all come from. It dates back as far as Elizabethan days, which is in Shakespearean times, back in the 16th, 17th century, where men would dress up as women and play the women's characters on stage, because men were still superior to women, and women were not allowed to be on stage. So, what it was is basically back then, young men would play the parts of the women, and it was completely 100% socially accepted, not only by your peers, but as well as the government and the monarch, the Queen Elizabeth I herself, and was pretty much, you were renowned as a very important person if you were chosen to play in drag. So, here's a picture of somebody playing Queen Elizabeth that is a man. You can tell by bone structure and whatnot. And in the playbill, it would say, the actor's name, and then next to it would be, say, in drag. And then it would go on to the actual character's name that they were playing. So this was pretty much well regarded and done for quite some time. Actually was pretty much done in Europe and everywhere, and through any time those plays were put on. Here in the United States, drag became somewhat big actually during the First World War, and as we move from the days of Shakespeare, we come to that of the First World War, where during this time theater was treated as some sort of a therapeutic thing for the soldiers and was engaged in very often. After long days of fighting, the men would entertain each other with plays from home and from where they were from. And of course, back in World War I, women were not allowed in the military at this time, so there was no one to play female roles except for the male soldiers. So men would then dress up by using whatever they could find for the illusion of hair and breasts and so on. Some didn't like this, but most had fun with it and found it to be actually very enjoyable. By using this as a moral booster, it changed the viewpoints and representation, actually, of femininity, and actually made women viewed as more strong and able in society. With the Second World War, this type of entertainment was still taking place in the beginning. However, it did start to become somewhat distasteful, and the sexuality of the cross-dressing men was being questioned as, it was being questioned by the people, and they also started to become increasingly associated with homosexuality, and even started to be thrown out of the military for such reasons. It is said that the eyebrows that were raised during the Second World War is what led to the creation of drag balls in America. For those that were homosexual drag queens, drag balls is the first sign of competitive drag in the world, where queens would socialize and then compete in competitions for the best dressed drag queen. Later, these were outlawed by the government in the United States for the term of homosexual socialization, and were criminal acts if caught participating. The balls then later went underground and were done in secret. In the 50s and 60s in the US, government tried to put an end to the cross-dressing stigma, so they passed out addresses of bars and clubs that allowed cross-dressing and drag, and banned cross-dressing, in quotes, as they called it, altogether. Men in drag had their heads shoved in buckets of water by the law enforcement and were dunked repeatedly to remove the makeup and any sign of femininity. It wasn't until the Stonewall riots in 1969 when drag queens finally took a stand against the law and fought for their rights. 100 drag queens occupied the front line, taunting and insulting police as to show that they weren't going anywhere and that the discrimination needed to stop. From then until now, we've come strides in, drag queens being accepted in America, but we still have a ways to go. Today, there's things like RuPaul's Drag Race, which is a competition to find America's Next Drag Superstar. It's kind of a cross between America's Next Top Model and that of Project Runway, where drag queens compete to see who's the winner and take home the cash prize. And what that's done is it's brought drag to the mainstream media. It's putting it out there, letting people know that this is an art form. We're not sick, crazy people, that we do it for art, just like people dance or they act or, things like that. But it's come a long way. We still have a ways to go until it's, socially accepted like it was back in Elizabethan times. So I hope that gave you a little bit about the history of drag. Thank you.